the CME has raised margin requirements yet again, up 9.1% on gold. Silver up 30% from $25,000 to $32,500 for each 5,000 ounce silver futures contract. That's the cost of maintenance. So anybody that has a contract has to come up with an extra $7,500, and if they've got a lot of contracts, that can add up to some serious cash. And if they sell some of their position, the price of silver goes down, which means that more people run into maintenance requirements, and that means that they may have to sell some of their position to come up with that cash. So I am expecting that when the markets open, silver is going to fall. But to me, that's a buying opportunity. It is not irrational exuberance. This is fundamentals that are playing out, and that is the reason that silver is rising. Some people think that it's just speculation, but it isn't. It's rising because of supply-demand fundamentals and all of the future need for silver. There is $2.8 trillion worth of Federal Reserve notes outstanding. Now, they're not outstanding because they're outstanding notes. They're a liability, so they're notes outstanding. Now, people will say, oh, it's a fiat currency. The dollar is not backed by gold. Untrue. It is backed by gold. There's 11,037 million on the gold certificate accounts held as collateral against those notes. Now, you take that number, 2,800 billion, and you divide that by the 11 billion, and what you come up with is that each dollar is backed by 0.39 cents worth of gold, 0.39%. So less than 0.4 of a penny at the official price. What is the statutory price for gold? It's 42 2/9. Leave it to a government to pick an irrational number. 42 2/9 is 42.2222222 out into infinity. It's a number that cannot be resolved. And so anyway, that's how it adds up to 11,037 million. Now, a gold standard is self-funding. All they have to do is declare a price that is higher than today and then stand ready to buy or sell gold in unlimited quantities. When a mining company brings you a whole bunch of gold, all you do is you print up gold certificates and you hand those to them and you buy the gold with the newly printed certificates and you've got a gold standard. It's an easy thing to do. And so if they do that, what are the consequences here? Well, we free up $2.8 trillion that is the collateral that is held. It's mostly U.S. treasuries that are held as collateral against these notes, giving him the ability, that goes into the rest of the Fed's balance sheet, and that can then be deposited in the Treasury General account, and they've got $2.8 trillion that they can spend against the deficit spending before the gold standard. Gold standards constrain governments. You can't do a bunch of deficit spending without doing something called crowding out, where you borrow too much gold out of the private sector, slow the economy down, reducing the tax revenues. And so there's a certain range where the government can do a tiny bit of deficit spending, but not the massive deficit spending we do today. I was wondering if silver was going to punch through this resistance at 54 something. I think it's like 54.80 or 54.60 something. If it was going to punch through that resistance, and I was comparing it to charts that I had made of the 70s, and it was the same calendar day that silver finally broke through its resistance in the 1970s. And I can't remember what the price was, but it did some just amazing performance down in the tens or something like that, or maybe it was down at 7. I can't remember. You'll have to go back and watch that video at the end of November to see what I'm talking about. But it did break through that resistance on the same day and start a spectacular run-up, just like it did back in the 70s.
Silver is pulling back. Not because the bull market is over, but because the CME has raised margin requirements, forcing leveraged traders to sell. Historically, these forced liquidations occur even when fundamentals remain strong. At the same time, long-term monetary trends suggest a much bigger shift is underway.
Once you've done a bunch of work, you've invested, and you've gained wealth, now what? What are you going to do? Are you going to just make more and more and more? Or do you also try to leave the world a better place than you found it? Do you try to create a world that is better for future generations? For me, I want to do the latter. I've made enough to where I'm fine and I'm comfortable, and I don't worry about currency, not money, because I've got a lot of money. I've got gold and silver. You know, I used to tell people, oh yeah, I'm fully diversified. I've got both gold and silver. And it had happened so fast that it's good that it's pulling back. It's bad that it's pulling back because of manipulation. And the way the math works out and everything, they are always protecting the shorts and hurting the longs on these. And so just don't get involved with futures contracts. Just, physical silver has enough leverage all on its own between then and I believe it was January 19th where it put in its high. So we've still got quite a few trading days to go. This isn't going to do much damage. It might be healthy. I know everybody hates it when I say stuff like that, but if it could pull back and retest this resistance here, and if that becomes support, it is like confirmation that the game is on, that this is a bull market that is going to last longer than just some flash in the pan that's going to happen between. Silver might be doing shortly. Now, every once in a while, everything needs to take a little bit of a rest. When we were in the initial phase of this bull market from 2002 until 2011, I used to say whenever gold comes back and touches the 200-day moving average, it's time to buy.
Over the last 150 years, every fiat system has eventually collapsed and been replaced by a new monetary order. With rising deficits, trade imbalances, and renewed discussion around gold's role in global finance, the math behind a higher gold price becomes unavoidable. These short-term moves may be noise, but the long-term signal is growing louder.
1971 until today, the instability of a fiat currency system with immediate roaring double-digit inflation and stagflation, massive currency creation to fund an endless stream of wars and social programs, an endless series of bubbles, busts, crashes and bailouts, income inequality, wealth disparity, social unrest, and an emergency economic conference to, oops, sorry, that part hasn't happened yet. When Trump was running for his first term, so you can see in the background there, it says 2016. He says, well, in some ways, I like the gold standard. There's something nice about the gold standard. I think that we are at a unique moment geopolitically. I could see that in the next few years that we are going to have some kind of grand global economic reordering. What is an economic reordering? A new monetary system. Something on the equivalent of a new Bretton Woods. And he wants to be a part of this. There's a very good chance that we are going to have that in the next 4 years. Gold can't have a fiscal problem. Gold can't have a gigantic budget deficit. Gold cannot have a war. The entire global trading system, until Nixon took us off, was tied to gold. And here's yet another interview. Gold is not a fiat currency. There's a limited amount. It is recognized as a store of value. The Chinese People's Bank of China is the largest buyer of gold now, Could we imagine some kind of convertible RMB that is exchangeable into gold? And then the host in this interview says, I don't disagree with any of that, which is probably why I find myself sort of rolling my eyes whenever people mention Bitcoin, to which he responds, gold can be a risk-off and a risk-on asset. Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. So what Bessent and Trump have just said is gold, 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 not Bitcoin. The United States has like 2.5 times more gold than the second place, Germany. And if you look at China now China lies. They do not give us the truth when it comes to their data and their holdings. On the financial side, the reserve function of the dollar has caused persistent currency distortions and contributed, along with other countries' unfair barriers to trade, to unsustainable trade deficits. These trade deficits have decimated our manufacturing sector and many working-class families and their communities to facilitate non-Americans trading with each other. Now, you have to look up the Triffin paradox or the Triffin dilemma online. Investopedia.com is probably the best way to look at that. Basically, what has to happen is with the currency systems that they were just talking about on the panel, other countries need US dollars just to be able to trade with one another, not necessarily with us. The way they get those dollars is they've got to sell us more stuff than we sell them so that we're buying their stuff and exporting dollars. And then the world gets along just fine. Fully backed gold standard, where every treasury note outstanding was 100% redeemable in gold with no fractional reserve system. And it was followed by an economic boom, World War I, suspension of the gold standard in Europe, massive currency creation to fund the war, the chaos of deflation and hyperinflation, and an emergency economic conference to create a new world monetary system, the Genoa Conference of 1922 to 1944, the stability of a partial gold standard, it was called the gold exchange standard between the wars, followed by an economic boom, the chaos of deflation, hyperinflation, suspension of the gold standard, World War II, massive currency creation to fund the war, and an emergency economic conference to create a new world monetary system, the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 to 1971. The stability of a pseudo-gold standard, the Bretton Woods system, followed by an economic boom, massive currency creation to fund Korean War, Vietnam, all of Johnson's social programs, a bank run by the international central banks on the U.S. gold supply, suspension of central bank gold redemption rights, and an emergency economic conference to come up with a new world monetary system, the Smithsonian Agreement